James Twin for the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow!
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah. The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, so yesterday I was going through the rankings because I always try to check the rankings 2 or 3 times a week. You know, I'm always trying to learn about boxing, learn about fighters, and see where fighters are in the landscape of their weight classes, so I can better understand the weight classes and kind of predict what's going to happen next. You know, I study rankings a lot, right? And yesterday, when I was going to the welterweight division, I noticed a very interesting name popped up in one of the sanctioning body rankings, and that was in the WBO welterweight rankings. I looked in the top 15, and who did I see? I saw the most exciting man in boxing, Blair the Flair Cobbs. Woo! Yes, Blair Cobbs is now officially a ranked fighter, and that's good news. That's welcome news to me, because I feel like, you know, the welterweight division is thinned out a little bit. It's a division that's very much in a transitional period, and it needs characters. It needs fights. It needs guys that are going to make it colorful and entertaining, because it's boxing's glamour division. So we need personalities. We need characters. I feel, and I hope you guys feel the same way. But like, Blair Cobbs had an interesting career because, you know, if you've read anything about his backstory, you know, his dad was like a fugitive. He believed he was in Philadelphia, but then he went to Mexico when he was a kid, and then he learned to box in Mexico and sparred in Mexican gyms, and then, you know, he was a Golden Boy fighter, and you know, he beat up Devin Haney in sparring years ago, and, you know, then he lost to Alexis Rocha, then Golden Boy dropped him, and then Virgil Ortiz sued him for defamation, and then he signed with Don King, and then he's beaten 2 former world champions back-to-back, albeit a bit faded and past it, but still, Maurice Hooker, Adrian Broner, 2 guys with names, beat them back-to-back. So he's in a very interesting stage of his career, and I think it is good to see him ranked, because he's a guy that I think, for this weight class to be as good as it can be, as entertaining as it can be, he needs to be in relevant fights. No 2 ways about it. He knows how to talk. He knows how to get people going. He knows how to just make boxing exciting, you know? And who doesn't like excitement, you know? So he's number 10 in the WBO. We know the WBO champion is currently Brian Norman Jr. You know, we'll see what happens, but, you know, this at least puts Blair on a trajectory to where he could get fights, you know, against some guys in this weight class. You know, I'm looking very forward to seeing who he fights in the top 10. You know, I've seen like guys like David Peppo. I've seen above him, we got Dave Peppo, Jin Suzuki, Derek Cuevas is above him, if I'm not mistaken, in the WBO rankings, and I can't remember the rest. But those are like a couple names. And funny enough, right? And I'll reveal this to you guys here on True School Sports. Funny enough, I'm gonna say like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, I spoke to Blair on Instagram, and Blair had revealed to me, because I was telling him about a fight that I think he should look into taking. And that fight was against Trayshawn Wiggins, who's a Don King fighter, who's ranked in the WBA. At the time I was speaking to Blair, he hadn't been ranked in none of the top 15 sanctioning bodies. So he had informed me like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that he's going to get ranked by some of these sanctioning bodies. And it looks like the first one has happened, the WBO. So maybe the WBA or the WBC rank him next. You know, don't be surprised in the coming days, weeks, if you see Blair Cobbs pop up in just more than the WBO rankings, because he's already informed me that he's been in contact with those people, and that he's gonna probably be getting ranked here real shortly. So I'm happy to hear that from him. I'm happy to see this happen for him, because let's face it, you know, Blair Cobbs is 34, and even though, you know, and I've spoken to Blair about this too, you know, about age. You know, he doesn't have the same mentality about age that most people do. He thinks fighters with modern nutrition and science can box later into their 30s, and he might be right. You know, he might be right. I think it all depends on the fighter and how they take care of themselves and how they look after themselves. You know, not drinking, not smoking, not, you know, fornicating way too much. You know, you got to look after yourself outside the ring. But he's, you know, in my opinion, age does play a factor. 34. He's 30. I think he's 30. I want to say he's 33 or 34 right now, so I think he's got to get a move on with his career. The time for him to fight in meaningful and relevant and impactful fights is now. And I want to see him in there with, you know, top contenders, top champions. You know, Jaron Ennis obviously is a fight I think he should have. That fight has a story. That fight, they're both from Philadelphia. You know, Boots is supposedly going to fight Virgil. So if he fights Virgil, I can't get mad at Boots for fighting Virgil. It's a great match. It's a great matchup. But you know, if that falls through, I would like to see Blair fight Boots because I think there's a storyline behind that fight. If not that, then you know Brian Norman Jr. I think if he can get past his next fight, I wouldn't mind seeing Blair versus Brian Norman Jr. You know, I think I've heard Blair talk about fighting Brian Norman Jr. and he feels that he has more firepower than Brian Norman Jr. He feels that he has more to his arsenal than Brian Norman Jr. I heard this interview on, I think it was Mill City Boxing one day when I was listening to it. So he's going to be a very interesting figure in this division in 2025. A lot of interesting fighters in this division coming in 2025, and I just think that again, he needs to be in relevant fights. It's good for boxing. I think he's good for boxing because one thing about Blair is like he's never had the full promotional backing. Let's be real. Like he was a Golden Boy fighter, but he was never a Golden Boy priority. You know, they had Virgil Ortiz, they had Raul Goriel, who they have now. They had Alexis Rocha, who they put him in with, and he lost. You know, they've had other guys that I think they promoted or had higher on the priority list than him. So he never had their backing. He's had to sign with Don King, which in this day and age, when a fighter signs with Don King, it's normally our last resort type of option. It normally means that PBC, Top Rank, Matchroom, they didn't see enough value in you to want to sign you, so you normally sign with Don King as a last resort option because Don King still does have pull with sanctioning bodies like the WBA, so he can get you a title shot pretty quickly. And yeah, like now, you know, he hasn't had that backing, so he's never had the opportunities to be in the big fights against big names when these guys were actually, you know, somewhat in their prime. Now he's getting ranked. Now he's got a little push behind him with Don King. I just want to see him in a big fight in 2025, and I think there's so many great fights for him in the welterweight division. So that's the news, guys. Blair Cobbs comes in at number 10 in the WBO rankings for the welterweight division, and I've already been informed that he's going to probably be ranked in at least 1 or 2 more sanctioning bodies in the coming days, weeks, and possibly months. So stay tuned for that. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you want to see Blair Cobbs fight now that he's ranked top 10 in the WBO? Leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys click right over here.